guys, so I'm back with another video, and this is another installment in my makeup artist series. I've been wanting to do this video for a really long time. So if you guys didn't know, my name is Ren. I am a full-time makeup artist, beauty blogger, as well as owner of Industry Makeup Academy here in Atlanta. So I've been doing makeup for over 10 years, freelancing, as well as blogging, and then left my corporate job a few years ago finally to do it full-time. So I really pride myself in the education aspect of makeup and helping aspiring makeup artists follow their dreams and be a professional makeup artist. I do a lot of videos on teaching you how to do makeup, but I also want to make sure that I equip people with the necessary business tools in order to be a proper professional makeup artist and business owner. Because you can do all the cute makeup you want, but unless you're able to monetize it and strategize and be an entrepreneur, it's kind of pointless if this is what you're trying to do for your career. So I made a list of some things that I think we should talk about in terms of collecting money, making sure you get clients booked properly. So the way I'm going to break this down is into 3 segments. The first one is, let's say that your makeup is going well, people want to actually book you. So the first question is, how do customers contact you to book your makeup services, and how do you respond? Let's say, like I said, you have really good makeup on Instagram, you're posting pictures, and now clients are finally coming to you. So good job there. In order to stay organized, there are a couple of different ways to do it. First off, you might be very simple with it and just be like, oh, here's my email address, or here's my phone number. Obviously, you want a business phone and a business email address to keep it separate from your personal life and keep it organized. I always recommend to my students that you get a separate number. There are a lot of free apps that do this, including Google Voice. So that way you can list a separate business number on your website, on your Instagram, Facebook, on Google. For example, the Google Voice number is a separate number, but it rings to your phone, and then it can have a separate business voicemail with your business away message, and you can also text and email on that number as well. You can tell if someone is calling for your business, and you can, if you're busy, you can choose to accept or deny, and it just makes life a lot easier. Secondly, a business email address. So I know a lot of us have Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, whatever it is. Once you get to a professional point, and if you want, for example, companies and larger brands and clients to take you seriously, you really want a custom email address. Let's just say makeup@gmail.com. What you should do is have a custom ending. So for example, with my website, it's info@renalynnthomas.com. That's my professional makeup artist website. So it makes it just seem more high-end, and when you seem more professional, people take you more seriously, and maybe you have the potential to charge more. You can also use some kind of a scheduler system. There are many different apps, but the one that I've been recently getting involved with is called Booksy. You might have heard about it. Everybody I talked to who's used it or heard about it has said only good things. I'm super excited to be working with them because I was able to really play with the program and get a behind the scenes tour, and it was I was very impressed. And I come from a business background. I have a bachelor's in business and as well as an MBA. So I really understood the power of an important customer management system. So with Booksy, it's an app or a website where you can just set up your schedule and basically your list of services and your availability, so that way your customers can book you directly through your app. That's super convenient because you don't have to manage and check your calendar. They can just see when you're available and book you. That's really good for people who are trying to only do certain days of the week. So let's say you only do the weekends. You can just block out your calendar and only show weekend availability. Or if you want to go on vacation, I make a big deal about that. As I got more experience, I started to block out certain dates because everybody would want to book me on a holiday weekend, and I started being oh my god, I never have a holiday off. So I learned to do that ahead of time, because sometimes you don't even realize they're booking you on the holiday until it gets close to it and it's too late because you're already booked. So Booksy is really awesome. I'll talk to you a little bit more about it throughout this video, but I do have a link below so that way you can sign up using my referral code, and I'm telling you, it's really awesome. So the last option would be, if you do have a professional website, mine is reynollandthomas.com, you should definitely have a contact form on there where they can fill out criteria such as name, date of requested service, type of service, and that way it gets an email to you, so that way you can answer emails and already have it pre-filled per customer information. Email and phone is kind of like when you're just kind of getting started, but as you get busier, definitely the scheduling app is the way to go. So one other thing when it comes to contacting customers back is something I find a lot in the makeup industry is that makeup artists have a reputation of being kind of flaky. But makeup artists especially, they get really into the beauty creative process, but they don't manage the professional side. So I want to make sure that you guys understand some kind of professional standards. So if somebody emails or calls you, the professional standard would be to get back to them within 24 hours. Whether it's, hey, I got your message, I'm out of town, give me a week to get back to you, or have an out of response message like, I'm on vacation, we'll reply to your email when I return. Or just say, hey, I got your message, send me this information and I'll get back to you with more pricing and all that stuff like that. So I've heard from a lot of photographers that makeup artists are flaky and they don't show up for gigs, and same with clients. Like, if you don't reply to a client within 48 hours, they're going to move on to somebody else. So that might seem like common sense, but if you have never worked like a professional job where you're used to replying to customers, it's a good standard to be replying to them within 24 hours, okay? Pretty simple, right? Alright, so part 2 is contracts and deposits. So now that we are professional makeup artists, we want to make sure that we collect our money in a professional way. So as opposed to just kind of getting money verbal, like, hey, it's 20 bucks, just give me money when I see you. You don't want to get gypped. And I noticed that if you work with clients, if they pay you a deposit and give you a contract ahead of time, they're less likely to flake on you. And believe me, I've had this happen in the past. Let's say you have a makeup appointment book. Let's say you charge $100 for makeup. Decide what you want your deposit to be. 25, 30% is a pretty good amount. So you say, hey, in order to book the spot, you need to put down a deposit. And you can send them the deposit via PayPal, via Square. If they don't pay that deposit, then if somebody comes along and they want that same date, it's pretty much first come, first serve. Now it's up to you whether or not you want your deposit to be refundable or non-refundable. Usually I'll do something like, oh, I need at least 2 weeks written notice of cancellation in order for the deposit to be refundable. Because if they cancel on you the day before or the day of, which is even worse, it's your right to collect that deposit money out of the inconvenience and having lost that possible spot to another client. So something to keep in mind. So you can do the online PayPal request, a Square request. You can also use Booksy to have them put a deposit down. Whatever you choose, just make sure that you don't count an online invoice as your contract. So your contract is something completely separate than, like, for example, sending someone a PayPal request for money. Even the PayPal invoices, which look more legit, those are not legit contracts. A legit contract is some kind of document where you have someone sign their name at the bottom and they complete some information. So what I tell my students is, your contract is your own, so I want you to personalize it according to what's important to you. So there are going to be some basics that you can find. Just Google any makeup artist contract online. You'll see things like name, date, deposit amount, total balance, number of people requiring makeup, makeup style, location, all those good logistical things. And then as you get more experience, you'll customize your contract and you'll add fine print. Like for me, I learned over time that when working with large bridal parties, I request that I have one lump sum payment. I don't collect money from individual people because it became time consuming and stressful, and I just require that the bride pay me the one lump payment. And I wouldn't have known to do that until I kind of like had experience. I know, like, in the past people have been like, oh, can I just use your contract? And I'm like, I really don't think that's a smart idea, because you want to know exactly what's on your contract and you want it to make sense for you. Some people request that the money is collected in advance of the wedding date, for example, or on the day of the wedding at the beginning. Like, it just, everybody has their preferences, so you definitely want to document that you can customize to you. Make sure you can fill out your customer information, and one of the most important things is when you send your contract to be signed by the client, make sure it is not editable. So like, if you send them a Word document of your contract, it should not be able to be edited by them, so they could potentially change details like price. I've heard of that happening. So you can send them a PDF document once you are finished with your Word, which means that it's locked for editing. They can print it out, sign it, scan it back. There are also programs like DocuSign, where it's an electric signing program, and there are different apps that you can use like that. Just make sure that they sign it and return it back to you, and that way you can make sure that if something happens with, like, they don't pay or there's a legal issue, you're protected by your document. So the contract is totally separate from a PayPal invoice or deposit request. So let's say you decide to collect your money ahead of time. That's great, but if you don't do that and you need to collect money when you see the person at the actual gig, you want to be able to take payment then and there. I've had it in the my early years. They didn't have it on them, and this was kind of before you had those card scanners. Like, now they have the card reader where you insert it into your microphone. Square and PayPal have it, and all you have to do is have the app, and then you can just swipe the card on your phone. So you don't ever have the excuse of they didn't bring enough cash or something like that. So make sure that you have the ability to swipe card, because everybody has a card. I don't take checks ever, because you don't know if those can bounce and you'll never see them again after the gig. Cash is fine, because cash is cash. Just make sure you know when you're going to get your money, because a lot of new artists are intimidated by that and they're not aggressive enough about it. But you need to collect your money, and you don't want to get into a gig and then 6 hours later, like on a wedding, you're exhausted and you forgot to ask them to pay you. So one other thing that I wanted to point out with booking appointments with your clients is that when you have them schedule your appointment, you want to make sure to leave enough time for everything. That includes setup and cleanup, as well as transitioning between clients. So if you do, let's say you book multiple people on one day, if you use the app, the Booksy app, you schedule it so that there's like an hour and 15 minutes between clients versus an hour. So in between clients, you have time to clean brushes, take payment, and be finished with them. All right, so now that I talked to you about contracts, deposits, setting up appointments, responding to people, collecting your money, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Booksy app. I was super impressed with it, and I'm not easily impressed by everything, because like, I do have a technology IT background, so if something's kind of basic, I'm like, I'll give you the real deal. But I really looked into this system, and it's super cool. So I wanted to point out some of the features, which I think could be really helpful. So we are using this new app for Industry Makeup Academy, and I'm also using it as a referral for my students, because I want them to be organized when it comes to booking their clients and accepting money. So a couple of things that you can do through Booksy. So one thing I mentioned is that you can book and schedule your appointments. So once you have your profile, your business profile set up on Booksy, you can pretty much set up a calendar, and they can check your availability on that calendar. So if you only want to work certain hours, you can block out the rest. If you're on vacation one day, you can block it out. When the clients actually book you through Booksy, it can be through the website, through the app, or they can just go to whatever social media you use, whether it be Instagram or Facebook. Also, it works on Yelp and Google, and you can integrate it into your website. So there's a functionality where it's a booking button. So if you go to Instagram, you look under the linked technology, and Booksy is listed on there. So once you select Booksy, a book button will be right underneath your profile. The client will see the book next to like contact and all those other little buttons. All they have to do is hit book, and it'll directly take them to your scheduling page on Booksy. Same thing on Facebook, same thing on Yelp and Google, as well as your website, which is so nifty, because when your customer has to do less work to book you, the better. Another thing that I really love about Booksy is they have a client management database. So you can look at your customers, you can see which customers like what kind of service, like you want to create profiles for them, like this person, like this is her foundation color. You can also see what services they book the most. And you can also look at customers who haven't contacted you in a while and send them all like a communication like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Come back, here's 10% off. It lets you do all these really cool marketing features where once you have their client profile listed, in Booksy you can contact them, do marketing, shout outs, and then you can also store information about the client just in the one application. Another thing that I think is really helpful is that you can look at your own personal statistics. So you can look at your sales per month. Let's say you have more than one person on your team, like for example with IMA we all have multiple artists. We can see how much each artist is making. We can pay them out according to like a commission, and like for tax purposes it's really great too because you can see your revenue. When you make money as a makeup artist, you want to keep track of how much you make for taxes. So whether that's an Excel spreadsheet, QuickBooks online, or through this app that does everything, it's a really good idea because it makes it a lot more easier around tax time. So you can do so many things with it. I just wanted to make sure to tell you guys about this app because I think it's a really helpful tool. And as makeup artists, we should really be transforming ourselves into the best business entrepreneurs that we can be. So if you have any questions about anything I talked about, contracts, deposits, scheduling, booking, all that good stuff, please let me know. I've definitely been through it all, and I hope this video was helpful. I'll definitely have a recap on my blog, makeupbyrenren.com, as well as a post on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.